everyone. Welcome back with me, Miss Amruta, and you're watching Guru's Academy. Hope all of those who are watching my videos regularly are getting the concepts clear. And if not, do comment me, will surely clear all your doubts. And for those who are new to my channel, do watch my videos, and if you like them, do comment, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications of my new videos. Start with the next topic, that is environmental balance of the chapter 4, environmental balance of EVS 1 standard 5th. There are many food chains in our environment. Yes, we have learned different types of food chains in our environment. So because of these food chains, every living thing get the food it needs and therefore continues to live. Yes, because of these food chain, what happens? Every living things, each and every living things in our environment, it gets food which it needs and it continues to live. Yes, even we, not only we, but all the living organisms, they require something to eat because they have to survive, isn't it? So they get their food, which therefore continues to live. Microorganisms living in the soil help the process of decomposition of plant residue, dead animals, excreta, and etc. Yes, now microorganisms, you all know what microorganisms are. Organisms which are very, very small. When they are living in the soil, what do? They help the process of decomposition. Yes. Now, do you all know what is decomposition? Yes, decomposition, it is the breakdown into the simpler part by the action of living things. Students, sometime uh, s- you all must have got some foul smell when you're passing by the road. Some dirt smell, isn't it? That is nothing but some of the animal must have died and it must have got buried under the ground. So that is just because of the decomposition. So these microorganisms which are living in the soil, they help the process of decomposition of plant residue. Now what is plant residue? Plant residue is the fallen off plant or the fallen off of the leaves on the ground. Then the dead animals, animals which are dead, they get buried on the ground. They fall off on the ground. So what happens? It gets buried into the ground. And the excreta. Now what is the excreta? Excreta, it is the unwanted material of the animals. And even many more things which get buried inside the ground. So microorganisms, it helps for the process of decomposition. So what happens? As a result, substance that help the growth of plants are formed and get added to the soil. Yes, when this decomposition takes place, what happen? These plant residues, these dead animals, they get buried into the soil. Then what happens? They form the food of the plant. They get added into the soil and plant use them for their growth. Thus, plant use substance in the soil of their for their growth. We all know from where do plant get the food? It makes the food on its own. That is the process of photosynthesis. But along with it, it also uses the soil for their growth. There are many nutrients, many minerals inside the soil, which are used by this plant. And along with this, when plants and animals die, the decomposition of the remains, they get added to the substance. Yes, then this substance, that is the decomposition of plants and animals, they get added to the substance and soil once again, isn't it? So this is an important cycle in the environment. Yes, you'll have to keep this in mind. You all must get questions. What is the environmental cycle? So you all should explain it. Let's see this in the picture which is given over here. Now we all know that plant take carbon dioxide and it gives oxygen, isn't it? So let's see over here. What is happening? What can we see here? This is the plant. What does it do? It takes carbon dioxide and it gives oxygen, isn't it? And these oxygen, it is used by the living organisms, living things on the earth because they require oxygen for their breathing, isn't it? Now, what do they do? They, when they breathe, even then they eat this plant, they eat these trees. But after some time, what will happen? These will die off and these animal will again get buried into the soil. The tree residues also will get buried into the soil. So what will happen? They will get decomposed inside the soil. And after this decomposition process, what will happen? It will get converted to the fertilizers and it will get used by the trees. Again, the same process will take place. It will use these minerals, it will use this substance for their growth. Plants, trees will use them for their growth. Again, they will get be eaten by the animals. Again, these animals will die. They will get buried into the soil, and this cycle will be continuous. So, this is the environmental cycle. You all will have to keep this in mind. Now, let's see what is next. Also, living things, they get continuous supply of water because of water cycle. Yes, we have learned what is water cycle in our previous chapter. If you all have not got that video, you can go back and watch the water cycle from the previous videos. We know what is water cycle, isn't it? It is also given in this picture. What is water cycle? So living things use oxygen from the air for breathing. Yes, we all the living things on the earth, they require oxygen for breathing, and oxygen is present in the air and they gives out carbon dioxide. Whereas what do plant do? Plant, they use carbon dioxide. They take carbon dioxide from the air for making their food and it gives out oxygen. Oxygen is given out in this process and gets added to the air again. This too is the cycle in the nature. Yes, what do plants do? They take carbon dioxide and they give oxygen. Oxygen is used by the living organisms. Again, this oxygen is get added into the air and this is also the cycle in nature. There are several other such cycles in nature. Yes. There are other cycles also in nature. Thus, there is interaction amongst living things and between living and non-living things. We have just seen that there are interaction between the living things, that is the animals and the plants, and along with the living things, also with the non-living things in nature. So the interactions go on continuously. This helps to maintain the food chain in environment. If there is interaction between these things in nature, the interaction goes on continuously. They should not have the break. And this interaction which are going continuously, it helps to maintain the food chain in environment. If we have to keep the food chain well going, it should be maintained properly in nature. What should be happen? There should be interaction without interruptions. So when various cycles in the environment go on uninterrupted, that is, if these various cycle in nature, in environment, if they are uninterrupted, what will happen? The environmental balance gets maintained. Yes, you might get question on this. How can you maintain the environmental balance? So you should answer this question. And if the interaction is continuously and it helps the food chain, it helps to keep maintain the food chain in environment, the cycles in the environment goes uninterrupted and hence the environment balance gets maintained. Now let's see what we should remember. For existence of living things, it is important that environmental balance is maintained. Yes, you may get this question for objective types or fill in the blanks. So this sentence is important. Now let's see what we have learned from this lesson. There are innumerable types of living things on earth. Yes, there are many different kinds of living things on this earth. Then there is interaction between living and non-living things in environment. Yes, there is interaction. Interaction means what? Having talk. That talk does not mean that you should just have interaction with the mouth. No, interaction between living and non-living thing. We have seen that in the starting of the chapter. Then different kinds of animals, plants, and microorganisms are found in different regions of the earth. Yes, there are different regions on our earth. So all plants and animals are not same in these regions. There are different kinds of plants, animals, and microorganisms found in these different regions of the earth. Then we have also seen the water cycle. Yes, I have taught water cycle in my previous lesson. So if you want, you can go back and check it. Then along with the water cycle, various other cycles. So student, which cycle have we learned in this lesson? Yes, we have learned the environmental cycle. Good. So, along with that and the food chain in nature, it helps to maintain the balance in the environment. So, you may get question on this. What helps to maintain the balance in the environment? So, what would be answer? Water cycle, various other cycles like environmental cycle and food chain. Good. And this balance has been maintained for thousands of years. So, this is what we have learned today in our chapter Environmental Balance. Hope you all have understood this and your concept have got cleared. If you like this video, do share and subscribe. Thank you.